And welcome to another episode of Preparing for the Unexpected. I'm your host, Alex Fullick, and as always, we like to talk about things related to disaster recovery, business continuity, emergency management, COVID, crisis management, and your own well being. Anything that helps you, your organization, or your communities plan for, respond to, and overcome adverse situations. Today, I want to talk about returning to the office. Now, there's lots of articles, there's lots of podcasts, there's lots of webinars, all talking about what to consider when you go back to the office. And for the most part, there hasn't really been anything different or new that I've been seeing. A lot of the information is the same from everybody, how you want to minimize impact, make sure you've got cleaning supplies at your office, how you're going to segregate staff if they need to, so they're not all, bunched up in a room together or meeting rooms, all those kind of things, who's going to come back. There are some things that I haven't really seen too many people address. Some of it maybe, but it really just kind of scratches the surface. So I kind of wanted to put something together where I just brought these forward. And maybe some of these items have been brought forward in different situations and in different webinars or different articles. I just haven't seen them, or, like I said, they just scratched the surface. So I wanted to bring them forward, and that's what I'm going to touch on today. So there's a few. I wrote them down so that I wouldn't forget what they are. The first one has to do with public transit. Now, we can make sure our offices are fine. We can make sure, our people are not carpooling, security at the door, one at a time, so no one's touching handles at the same time or anything like that. But there's a lot of people that still take public transit, whether that be a subway, a bus, or if they live in the suburbs, they're taking a train in to downtown so that they can work. How are those being cleaned? And if there aren't proper measures in place on those places, buses and trains, then people may not want to come to your office, which may be sparkly clean and sanitized all the time. However, to get there, they've got to go through the valley of death, where nothing is clean. Before you make the decision, we want everybody in the office, take a look at what some of those avenues are doing to address, their cleanliness and sanitization and things like that. Another one, and it's kind of a serious one, kids. A lot of kids are schooling from home, or they're going to be home as schools close. And a lot of parents and some people that I know have gotten a lot closer to their kids and spend a lot more time with them. Even though they may not enjoy working from home a lot, they are enjoying spending a lot more time with their kids, especially the young ones, of course, where they get to play with their dads and their moms. Now, if you're an organization or a community leader and you're telling people, okay, everyone back to the office on such and such a date, think about that. Think about the parents. It could be very traumatizing now for kids who have gotten used to the fact that the parents are home, to have them suddenly disappear and they're off to daycare or school, or looked after by a babysitter or daycare, whatever the case may be. Think about that. It could be very impacting now for young ones. Also, do people need to prove they've had the vaccine before they return to the office? And how are you going to ask them for that proof? There could be privacy concerns involved here, but you don't want someone who hasn't had the vaccine to come back into the office and spread COVID around. So think about, how are you going to ask people that, or do you even care? The other extension of that, and I just touched on it slightly, is what happens if you do have everybody back in the office and COVID breaks out again? Now what? You've just had everybody come back. You've turned everybody's life upside down a second time. COVID did it the first time. The second time would be on the organizational, leadership, management, level. They would be creating the problem this time, turning everyone's lives upside down. What are you going to do then? Another one is, and I think, actually, no, I know, I have not seen this mentioned anywhere. Everyone talks about employees, coming back, and it's always management doing the talking. All the people that are running, the the situation and executing the plans and making the policy decisions. And they all state, when we have our employees back in the office, you got to remember, Mr. and Mrs. Manager, Mr. and Mrs. CEO, you are also in the same bucket with everybody else. What happens when you are sick? You catch something, your life is going to be turned upside down. It already has been, but it's going to be again by going back to the office. And what if you catch something? You can't just say it's employee based. You make it sound as though if you're a manager, you're immune to things. Well, you're not. Yes, you've got to show compassion and empathy and care for your employees who don't have management titles, or leadership titles. However, when it comes right down to it, you're a person just like everybody else. And you can't forget that. You can't think you're immune because you're the people that we're seeing on the news having parties, and not following the rules. You're doing your own thing, but you're not. You're in the same pool with everybody else. Don't forget that. And there's also when people are in the office, what are you going to do when everyone is mingling in the hallways or the water cooler? Are you closing off kitchens? Are you closing cafeterias? Are you keeping people, 6 feet apart? So every second desk or every second cubicle, however your office is set up. Where's the other half? Are they working from home or do you split? 50% of our staff will work from home Monday to Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, they flip. And the following week, the Friday becomes an alternate day. Let's say, Monday, Tuesday for this group, Wednesday, Thursday for this group, and Friday becomes an alternate for everybody, or, a free for all. Everybody can work from home on the Friday or the Wednesday or whatever day you choose. But at any time, you only have half your amount of staff actually on site. Think about what you're going to do about there, and all the cleaning and everything that goes along with it. Are you going to have coffee machines? I can't imagine too many offices where if you can't go get your coffee, after a stressful meeting or a stressful conference call, to blow off steam or just go, what the hell were they thinking? If you can't let people go and do that because coffee shops may not be open in your building either, how are you going to address that? It sounds stupid, but it's a daily reality when you're in the office. There are a couple of others. I've already talked about transport. Oh, and the other part of transport is how are you going to transport some of this equipment that you've sent out to people and their homes, whether it be printers, or if anyone still uses them, a fax machine, laptops or PCs, whatever you sent. Now you're expecting all that stuff to come back. You've got to make arrangements for that, with your asset management team or IT team or whoever looks after it. How are you going to get it packaged up, sent back? You can't expect everyone to carry it under their arm, especially if there's printers and laptops involved and people are taking public transit. How are you going to get all that information and equipment back into the office safely? And when you do that, you're going to have people having to be in the office already. Either your IT staff, asset management staff, facilities, whoever, to receive this information, all these resources and keep track of what they've got, what they haven't got, where it is, what's damaged. They have to go through all of that. You have to have those procedures in place too. The final one that I wanted to bring forward, and it's one that's kind of close to me because it would drive my co-host. Every so often I talk about my co-host, which has 4 legs, and furry and a tail and always sits by my feet. He is now, my dog. What are we going to do with our pets? Been lucky enough to be able to take LG, my dog, to the vet and to a groomer, for regular checkups when we're able to. And they have both said, the groomer and the vet, that pets, especially dogs, are experiencing greater anxiety now when their owners, masters, caregivers, whatever you want to call, leave the house. They're experiencing greater levels of anxiety because now they've gotten used to the new normal of their human companion being home. If you're going back to the office, that dog now, and other pets too, are going to be more anxious, and they're going to suffer. I know LG absolutely freaks out when I leave. If I have to run a quick errand, if it's someplace I can go, so he's been stuck as my shadow since the beginning of March. There's no way I can leave all of a sudden, just say, yeah, as of Monday, I'll just leave him. That's traumatizing for him. And if our pets suffer, then us humans get traumatized as well. So organizations can't just say, hey, you're going back to the office. There are other considerations now. People's lives have changed. You can't just make those directives and make them stick anymore. You've got to really use some compassion, empathy, and really think about what's going to happen to people's lives when you bring them back to the office. It can't just be a quick, off you go. You got to think of other things now. And individuals need to think about what they're going to do when that time comes, how they're going to manage it. Organizations need to think how they're going to manage it and what they're going to do if someone says, I don't want to come back to the office. The risk is still too great for me. I have diabetes, or, I have other health concerns, and I just don't want to be in an office yet until somebody somewhere says COVID is over. Someone in a high level position, with knowledge about COVID can speak to that and say, we now declare this pandemic over. Those are some of the things that I haven't seen too many people talk about. Some I have, but like I said, a lot of them just scratch the surface. So I kind of wanted to bring some of those all together here and put them all in one little video for consideration. If you like what I had to say, thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down. But either way, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe. In the meantime, everybody, stay prepared.